afternoon, everyone that's coming on in. I just want to go ahead and give like a big welcome to everyone that's coming in, but also just introduce myself. My name is Carmen McIver. I'm a program coordinator in the Office of Student Life and Engagement at Brookhaven's campus. I am also the chair of Women's History Month, and I just want to thank y'all for celebrating Women's History Month with us. And of course, we all know it is not just one month that we celebrate, but we celebrate women 24/7, and everyone benefits from women being celebrated. So we have a really, really great presentation for you all. I just want to go over quick ground rules. One, if you could please mute all mics. If you are not a speaker or a speaker does not unmute you, please make sure your mic is muted. I also ask that any comments or if you have a question, please utilize the chat. There will be someone always viewing the chat that's going to either respond to your comment, or we're going to tell the speakers like, hey, this person has a question. So be respectful, but also be engaging and put any comments or questions in the chat. Also, if you want, feel free to do stage view on your WebEx. That way you can see who is speaking at the time. If not, though, no worries. And then lastly, but of course not least, be open, be inspired, and feel empowered. Because this month I made sure I want all of this to be about empowerment, right? Because that's what women's history is about, but also there are just times where we need to be uplifted, we need to be empowered, and that's what we are here for, and that's what we are celebrating today. So with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and turn over to these three amazing women that are part of Dallas College, and y'all go for it. Go ahead.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Crystal Johnson. I'm Senior Manager of Career Services, and I'm based at the El Centro campus, and I'm very, very excited to be with you all this afternoon. I'm being joined by my amazing colleagues, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dominica McCarthy. I'm an administrator in student services at the Brookhaven campus. I currently oversee the Center for Career Development, and it's funny that Carmen mentioned empowered women, because you might not be able to see, but my colleagues Crystal and Latera are both wearing their empowered women shirts. I was supposed to, but I forgot. But I did wear this shirt with hearts because I wanted us to always remember self-care and self-love. And so when you see my shirt with hearts as I'm speaking, make sure that you remember that self-care is very important. Latera?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Latera Addison. I serve as the Senior Manager for Career Development. I'm located at the Cedar Valley campus, and I'm also very happy to be here with everyone today.
And so we are very grateful for the invitation to be here with you all to talk about women in career and professionalism. And we are very much, the three of us, wholly in support of empowering women anywhere, no matter what age. We wholly believe that women truly rock. In fact, we believe women run the world. We birth the world. We are the world. And so we choose to support the premise that there is nothing that we can't do. And so when we think about women and the huge magnitude of all that we entail, branding questions immediately come to mind, because so many times as women, we are marginalized. And so one of the things as women that stands out to us, especially in our careers, is, are we receiving a true reflection when we arise? And so when you look in the mirror, one of the things that is asked, no matter where you are, and if we just stop for a moment and believe that a mirror is not just a mirror, a reflection, a mirror can just be walking into a room, right? So what are you standing for? And here are a host of questions. What are you standing for? What do others think about you? Who are you, right? Do you command respect when you stand into a room or when you enter a space, right? Do you look pulled together? Are you pulled together? Can you be taken seriously? Are others confident in your abilities, or do they doubt you, right? How can you be summed up in one word? And what do others see when they look at you? And these are things that we as women, we bear the burden of that no matter where we go, no matter what we're doing. This is what we are faced with. We do it to ourselves, first of all, when we get up in the morning. That's the first thing we usually greet ourselves. And so when you're looking in the mirror, we hope through this presentation that you find your positive inner voice, your inner strength. And that is something that fuels you throughout the day, that helps you in your personal life as well as your professional life. And so, of the many descriptors that we encounter throughout our lives, many of them are spectacular, right? So here we have a picture of a lot of amazing women. Some of them you may recognize, some of them you may not. But when you see them, some of them are known by one name. Some of them you're known by just what they do. But you see here orators, innovators. Many of them are leaders. Some of them are mentors, the movers and the shakers. Some of them are provocateurs. Some of them are known for their honesty. Some of them are fashionable, worldly. They're champions and crusaders, right? But this as a collective, when you think of amazing women, a lot of these women immediately come to mind. So let's think about what descriptors are missing from this list. So I'd like to go to the chat and let's think about what's missing. And you're welcome to use the chat to when you look at this list, what's missing? CEO is good. Moms, daughters. Absolutely. Don't be shy. Yes, caregivers. Yes. A lot of the things that are associated with women are the domesticated things, things that really don't seem to hold value for a lot of persons in the world. Those are the descriptors that are absent from the list. And that was intentional because we know that that is something that we do, right? But here in this space, we want to glorify women. We want to empower us. And we want to see ourselves beyond the basic descriptors of what we know we are capable of. All right, next slide. So, building your brand. How can you be your beautiful self, right? That's a good question, and that question comes from a lot of women, especially in our line of work. How can I be seen as my authentic self? And one of the ways that you can do that is by developing strong communication skills and being able to articulate whatever it is that you want to say, and to build positive online presence, to manage your marketing campaign, and to monitor your image. And when you're monitoring your own image, that means that you are in control of the narrative. You never have to give your power away to someone else to frame what is about you want to convey. So that means that you have to tell your story your way. And that means that you have to have a voice, find your voice, and you have to use your voice. And we empower you to be assertive. In our public spaces, some of the things that we need to be cognizant of as women, especially in our professions, is the 3 C's. And this is something that I've coined as the 3 C's, which is our character, our conduct, and our conversations. Because a lot of times these 3 C's tend to empower others to label us, to put us in boxes, to marginalize us, or to paint us in a particular way. And sometimes that could take away our power or direct a narrative in a way that is beyond our control or will cause us to have to do damage control. So your character is something that you bring in and of yourself. This is going to be your beliefs, how you carry yourself, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Your belief systems and how you actually act when you're with persons and when you're by yourself. How you conduct yourself with others is another C that is majorly important. Your ethics, are you honest? Are you forthcoming? Are you something approachable? And then there's also conversation, how you actually speak to others. How is your tone, your tonality? Are you aggressive? Are you clear? Are you concise? Are you confusing? Are you gossip? This is something that's also tends to be subscribed to women. That's something that a lot of males like to label us as the gossip, the vine. Which is not wholly a bad thing because we are major communicators, women, but conversation, when it is positive, is usually more powerful, and we would rather be on the side of power than negative. So that brings us to social media. And social media is something that we all partake in, and what the whole world sees. And we all know that when it hits the cloud, it's something that doesn't return to us. It's permanent. It stays. And so when we are sharing things about ourselves, we need to be careful. We advise modesty, of course, but there are some times when we have to use our voice to speak to certain issues, to point things out, to help push things along, and that could be whether it's your political views or whether it's in support of injustice and things of that nature. And then when we are sharing pictures, you know, pictures can be worth 1,000 words, and sometimes pictures without words can be inferred and used for us or against us. And again, that's where we are allowing others to dictate what that narrative will be. And then our connections to others on social media can also be an extension of ourselves in positive or negative ways. So what the world sees is something that we sometimes can control and sometimes not so much. But when you are in control of your own branding and you're intentional about what you're trying to put out into the environment, that is something that helps put you in a very positive space. In one of our former presentations where we talked about social capital and performance capital, this is part of that narrative where you are putting your best foot forward, in this case, your best stiletto. We would like to say, as women, we want to be our best selves and to always be as authentic as possible, but always in the best light. And so now we'll just move into some of the words that are usually associated with how we are. One of my favorite persons in the world is Iyanla Vanzant, and she always is like, how you be is who you are from the inside out. And so in our professionalism space, our personal space and professional space, being poised is something that is of major importance. And so as we grow and evolve as women, no matter what our age, and through the decades that changes, right? Because how we saw ourselves and dressed in our 20s is not how we are in our 50s. And so your style is going to evolve, your tastes are going to change, and you'll become more refined and sophisticated as you grow and mature. And then the word dignity is somehow attached, and that particular definition expands and it grows with you as you get older. And being poised really just comes down to being in control. How can you control who you are and not allow external forces to dominate how you are going to react in any situation? So this is essentially being calm and collected under pressure. You know, can you maintain your poise in any situation? If you can, that's an awesome, awesome accomplishment, and we hope that you're able to do that. A woman of excellence is also polished. And in our professional life, a lot of businesses actually have dress codes. Here at Dallas College, our dress code is actually not written anywhere. It's usually by department. But polished doesn't always have to be what you are wearing. You know, polished can be a mindset. So if you are accomplished, you've mastered something, you're skilled, it can be translated into being well-read and cultivated, you know, which can also end up being civilized, and that can turn to polite. And then that also translates to what you're wearing, because I think how your mindset influences what you wear, and that translates to just being kempt, neat, clean, well cared for, which translates to style, as we talked about in the previous slide. So polished just means how you are, your overall package, and that is something that is different from person to person. It is an individual choice, but you know, whatever the occasion is, we empower you to, or support you to dress for the occasion, for whatever you're getting ready to do, and to really think it through. And as things evolve with whatever you're doing in your professional life, that you consider who's going to be viewing you, you know, who's going to be receiving you, and what that is going to do to further your career in that space. And now we're down to professional. And professionalism is a word that we use quite often, and that covers a whole gamut of things, but we can summarize it to mean your appearance, your physical appearance, but also your demeanor, how you carry yourself, reliability, competence, ethics, maintaining your poise and how you communicate, being well organized, and being accountable. Again, it's still a state of mind, but it is a whole practice in your being and how you deliver and interact with other persons throughout your day, and how you actually perform your work. And so finally, before we transition, I just want to support each of you in just reaffirming that no matter where you are or what you're doing, your voice matters. And so being silent is a choice, and to be well-spoken and to speak up for self and to self-advocate is also a choice. And so I hope that you feel me when I say this with as much heartfelt and compassion as I can possibly say, is to be assertive, to use your voice, to always speak up for yourself, and to always speak up for your sister. The three of us are very much a sisterhood, and I can honestly say that being here at Dallas College here less than the last 5 years, that I have learned a lot from these three ladies and a few others here at Dallas College, but especially these three, and they have helped me become more assertive in some of the things that I have picked up here at Dallas College and some of the things that I have tackled. And so surround yourselves with persons who are going to push you to use your voice, who are going to speak up for you. And as one of them have often said, that the best girlfriend is the friend that will speak your name in the room when you are absent. So I will transition to the future Dr. Addison to speak more about being assertive.
Thank you, future Dr. Johnson. So now we are going to discuss 11 tips to help you become more assertive. And these are practical things that you can do in order to assert yourself. So, confidence level, right? You want to start by defining, what does assertiveness mean to you? It's one of those words that does have a connotation. You maybe have an image or an idea in mind when you hear the word assertive, but you could begin by simply writing it down and understanding, what does assertiveness mean to you and where do you fit with that definition. One of the things that is important with this particular thing about assertiveness is to think about the relationships that you invest time in. As Crystal mentioned before, women, we develop bonds, right? We develop relationships. Think about what's working for you. Think about what is not working for you. It is okay to move on, to move past things that no longer serve you in a way that is helping you grow. Do not continue to be in a state of misery. It's okay to consider what's working for you and what isn't, and to devise a plan to move on beyond that. Don't believe everything you think, right? So, along with ending those things that no longer serve you, we also have to temper our perception, because perception informs our reality. And sometimes we talk ourselves into a place of spiraling negativity that ends at a massive brick wall, when really we need to, what I call on my sisters to do at times, talk ourselves. You're right there, and you're just like, oh God, everything is just, so extra. It's all bad. And you just need to get that part out so that you can talk yourself down. And sometimes that support group in your lives, they serve as individuals who are capable of getting you to think about how you're framing things, look at the fact, and talk yourself back off the ledge. We all do it, but we want to train ourselves to turn off the negative thoughts. Find a role model. This is very, very important. It's something that should be taken serious by all of us. It doesn't necessarily have to be a peer. It can be someone from a different age group, a different generation. You will be amazed what you will learn from other people that see things different from the way you've grown to see things, because they have different life experiences. And those are all things that are important to help you grow and develop as a person. Resolve conflicts. This is a really good one. Someone has to do it. Why not you? Conflicts are simply struggles that are brought on by differing opinions or viewpoints. We tend to think of conflicts as physicals. We tend to think of conflicts as negative automatically, but it doesn't have to be a negative thing. We just have two different viewpoints. There's something that usually could have a positive outcome. Growth can come out of conflict. So demonstrating the ability to have the power to be the person that is able to resolve conflicts is a good thing. Speak up. And I think to allude to what Crystal said, this is something that we've all supported each other in doing, is finding your voice. Someone needs to hear you. We all have valuable things to contribute to the conversation. So it is very important to find your voice and to speak up. And also, even if you are learning to temper that, I'm of the mindset of, I sometimes will do a thing, will say, if it's something that I really want to say at the moment, sometimes I'm like, you know what, I don't know where this is coming from. And if it's something where maybe I'm being rash, if this is not the time, I will ask that I am aware of when is the right time for me to interject, because it's something that I feel I really want to say, but maybe it's coming from some place that isn't the most positive right now. So I will be sensitive to the appropriate time to do it, but always keeping in mind that, we all have value and our voices are valuable as well. Express your feelings, right? we're all March birthdays, myself, Dominica, and Crystal. So like it's Pisces feeling overload for me, right? All about my feelings. But it is very important also. I've had to learn to temper that. And you don't want to let things that have occurred to fester. I know I am very conscientious, and sometimes if I feel like I've made a mistake, it will ride with me, right? I'm like, oh my God, why did I say that? I should have done this instead, or and we have to give ourselves the same grace that we would give a friend, right? So when things happen, if you fell short of no, it's okay to acknowledge that feeling for the moment. Hey, you know what? I really intended for that to go a different way. Lean into it, but don't let it rule the day. You know, you have to let it go and move on. But it is okay to acknowledge the feeling of, not quite having things go in a way you desire, but you don't want to let it determine the outcome of the rest of your day. So it is good to do things in a timely manner pertaining to those feelings, because the person on the other end will respect you for being forthcoming in that regard. Quit apologizing. And this is something that I've also tried to work on, right? Not saying I'm sorry, owning up to, hey, that is an oversight on my part. I am going to get right on that, or I'm going to make sure this gets done. It doesn't have to be a thing of you just, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. No, just address what was supposed to happen that did not and fix it. And then it's done.
And if I could add something, Latera, I know for me, what I always apologize for is when I get really passionate about something and I tear up, and usually it's in front of an audience or a group of people or in a meeting, and I immediately apologize. And so one of the things that I've told myself is I'm going to stop apologizing, because there's nothing wrong with showing how passionate you are. And it's usually, again, when I'm talking about students, because I absolutely love what I do. And it's okay that we show some emotion. Now, is it okay to boohoo cry? No, but showing some emotion is absolutely acceptable. So for me personally, I'm no longer apologizing for showing my emotion.
Your humanness, right?
Right.
Crystal, did you have something to add to that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with boohoo crying, but I do understand.
I mean,
and I
in a
only say that
professional
because
setting, yes.
I understand that. I only say that because I'm an emotional person, so I only say that. But no, I totally wholeheartedly concur with what you're both saying. But that being apologetic, and then being apologetic doesn't mean that you're sorry in the sense of admitting that you're devaluing yourself at the same time. It just meant that something happened. It's okay. You recognize it and you just want to fix it, repair it as best you can, and then you just move forward. So you're good.
So exactly. To the point. Something I'm still working on, right? Respecting the other person's time, not apologizing before and after your point. I know for me, I'm often searching for words, right? I want to say things just so that I don't, say something that can be taken in a negative light. So I want to try to just get it just right, but also say what it is I have to say. And sometimes for me, that means practicing, especially when it comes to talking to my husband. So I'm like, okay, what am I really trying to what am I really trying to say here, just so that I can get it out? So you have to do what works for you, but say what needs to be said. Talk for yourself. This is another really good one. Don't expect others to speak for you. We all have sounding boards in our lives. I think we all have people who we can talk to them and say, hey, I have this going on. This is what I'm thinking. This is how I've processed the situation. Can you kind of help me with, what I'm thinking before you go into a situation. But it is always good to speak up for yourself, to have a voice, and not depend on anyone else to do that for you, because no one is going to be able to express your intent behind your message like you will. And you don't want that to get lost in whatever it is you're trying to communicate. And number 11, and this is something that I've learned to do more, and the more I learn to do it, I think the better I get. And I feel like it's making me a better person. And that's just welcoming and being respectful of feedback. Feedback is not criticism. It's not a dissection of who you are as a person or what you do wrong. It's simply maybe shining a light on something that you were not aware of or that you missed, because no one person has all the information. So feedback is a gift, and it's always something that should be in a manner, even if it's from someone that maybe you're not too fond of receiving their feedback. My go-to is always, you know what? Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Because really, oftentimes these are things that need to be brought to your attention. It's something that you need to know. It probably just wasn't on your radar, and that's always good. And the more you lean into accepting feedback and you don't take it personal, it just makes you a better person. And whatever you decide to do, whatever you're a part of, it makes those things that you produce a million times better, because you're open to input from others who see things that you can't. And that's all for me.
Well, Sarah, can I chime in for that? Even when you're receiving
Absolutely.
that, I often use it as a measuring stick for myself to help me measure my progress. Because I often feel that if I hear it once, okay, maybe it's not, but if I hear it more than once, then I definitely need to take notice of it. And then if I've heard it a third time, then yes, this is definitely an attention getter, and I need to choose an alternate path or a way to resolve whatever the it is. And so I use it as a measuring stick to help demonstrate my progress or my growth, my personal growth as a person. So hopefully that will help someone in the audience.
Very good. That's good, Crystal.
So I'm going to round out the end of our presentation with this amazing article that I found. That was an article about Kiki Palmer. And for those of you that may not know her, one of the things that I absolutely respect about her is that she is 100% her authentic self. And as a woman, as a binational woman, multiracial woman, as a Black woman, as a woman of color, at the age of 45, I'm just now feeling comfortable enough to be my authentic self in my workspaces. And so I'm really excited to share with you pieces of this article. And I really wanted this to be more of a conversation. And so if you feel comfortable as we're going through these slides to unmute, please feel free to do so. I hope that you feel uplifted and motivated enough with, the previous pieces of information that we've shared for you to use your voice and to speak up. If you don't feel comfortable unmuting yourself, please feel free to type it in the chat. So tip number 1, the importance of authenticity. And so these slides have a lot of words, a lot more than I normally put in a presentation. But again, I wanted it to be a discussion. So she says it's not easy to always assert yourself in the workplace. We all want to stand out and we want to be acknowledged. We all want our voices to be heard. And that is a journey for all of us, whether you're in entertainment or in a corporate office. There are always going to be struggles because you're dealing with misogyny, you're dealing with competing with your peers. And there are a bunch of people in the office that all want to be noticed, and we're all trying to figure it out. And so for me, like the most important pieces of the first part of this paragraph is one, that we all want to be acknowledged. And that's everyone. I don't care who you are. We all want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to be valued. And so, that's a very important part of being able to be our authentic selves, is to feel comfortable enough to be ourselves in all spaces and to be seen and heard. And I think most importantly, to be respected, right? And then the key here is we're all trying to figure it out. I just told you, as a 45-year-old woman that's been working my entire, since I was 15, so now 30 years, oh my gosh, 30 years, I just now am feeling comfortable enough to be myself. And so just know that you're not alone. We're all trying to figure this out. I think the number one thing is saying true to yourself, is what she says. It sounds so basic, but it's really true. Saying true to yourself and being consistent with that. And so one thing that I really like about this is that we've noticed in this last year or so with the racial justice movement, we're seeing more women of color placed in prominent positions. And Keke Palmer was an added addition to a morning show that unfortunately was canceled. But I love the fact that they chose her, because again, we're not used to seeing individuals that behave the way that she does on TV or in the spotlight. And she has, like I said, 100% always been her authentic self. And they sought her out for that. So that's where that comes from, is be yourself and be consistent with that, because you never know when that person is looking for exactly what you have to offer. And they can't offer that to you if you're not being your authentic self. And so you see my little picture down here with all these black umbrellas, and I don't know about you guys, but I always want to be the yellow, whatever is going to stand out. I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to be me. And so I thought that this picture was a good representation of being authentic. So number 2, not being pigeonholed. And so she says, I always felt so much pride in doing multiple things. I didn't feel like I had to pigeonhole myself. It's all about what my heart is telling me to do, what I'm guided as a creative to do. This is how I want to use my platform and my voice. So it's really bigger than what everybody else sees for me. And I think that what really is the key for me is being competent enough to go with what I saw for myself. And for me, the most important things here, she talks about not pigeonholing herself, which is something that I can relate to. I've always been the type of person, when I learn a job or, I'm placed in a new position, I learn as much as I can about my job. And then I try to pull from other departments and learn what everybody else does, because that helps me gain more skills. It helps me network. It helps me get to know colleagues that are outside of my immediate area. And so it also helps me not to be pigeonholed. I'm very versatile, and I'm able to do multiple things. And so if you ever find yourself in a situation where there are layoffs, which, by the way, this is my 3rd time experiencing this, it helps you sustain longer, because you know more, you know people, you know different things outside of what your immediate responsibilities are. And then I think the most important lines from this first part of this paragraph is, it's really bigger than what everybody else sees for me. Don't allow people to put you in a box. Don't allow people to dictate who you are or how you're supposed to behave. We all have confines that we have to operate within, and rules that we have to operate within. But as yourself, as your personality, don't allow people to dictate who you are supposed to be. She goes on to say, a good way to guide yourself is by what your heart is saying and what you feel in your gut. I know it can be difficult, but it's the thing that comes to you when you just know it's coming from the truest part of me. But you've got to be flexible. So she also goes on to say that sometimes she might want to go, she thinks she wants to go left, and then something else comes back and then says, nope, you're going right. And so you have to adjust. And you say, okay, I'm going to go right. And you say, it's okay that this isn't the right time for now. And that's the key, right? Is knowing that just because something doesn't go the way that you planned or the way that you want to, just know that it's temporary and it's for now, and continue focusing and working towards whatever your goals are, or overcoming whatever obstacle you might be trying to deal with. So number 3, surround yourself with the right people. And so I know Crystal and Latera kind of talked a little bit about this. And so I want to go ahead and re-emphasize how important this is. She says, and surround yourself with the right people. A lot of times we don't realize that the self-doubt that we have is coming from the type of energy we're having around us, the type of information we're ingesting, the type of books we're reading, the type of shows we're watching. Revive and revitalize yourself. Listen to Wayne Dyer podcast or an inspirational person that you like, that you want to listen to, and surround yourself with good people that encourage you to keep staying focused. We can't do it all alone. We have to have a team. And so Crystal and Latera mentioned our sisterhood, which we've been working together at different campuses now for several years, but it's not until like this last year that we really truly have created this bond. And I was liking it to, we're on this life raft together, trying to figure out and navigate what's going on in our personal lives, what's going on at work, what's going on with our new charges and responsibilities and a lot of changes that are occurring. And I tell them repeatedly, I would have not made it throughout this last year without them. There's no way I would have. And so we've been there to support each other, to encourage each other, to give constructive criticism, to give feedback, to reframe, like Latera said. And so you want to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with somewhat like-minded people, but also people that you see making moves, people that you see moving up, that are growing, that are changing and evolving. Those are the type of people that you want to connect with, the positive people. And the same thing with the type of information that you take in. Be careful about what you bring in and what you're ingesting, what you're reading, what you're watching, because that does can affect you as a person. And so you want to make sure, again, that you're tapping into as much positivity as you can and surrounding yourself with the people that will support you and create your team. Find your team, find your people. Cannot tell you how important that is.
Dominica, if I could just add to that a little.
Absolutely.
Two things you said that were really important. The finding like people to support you, very, very, very important. I think when people say you are what you eat, right, they aren't just talking about food. They're literally saying like what you allow to come into your space, like how you give your energy or whatever energies you take on by how you spend your time. Also, so I'm in school right now. I'm working on a doctoral program, and I've learned to embrace the fact that I am a nerd and I enjoy doing research. It's one of the things I like to do. And through some of the research, I've found about how people who are part of groups that are traditionally marginalized, say women, African American women, they do better when they are aligned with counter spaces that allow them to basically have support for some of the systemic issues that they have to deal with as being a part of the marginalized groups. So women in particular, when they are members of, say, like the African American Employee Resource Group, the Women Employee Resource Group, when women align themselves with those other organizations, conversations with people who understand the issues that they face as being a marginalized group in this larger bubble, they have more support and they're more successful. So if you haven't taken the time to align yourself, to expand your network, take advantage of those opportunities to do so.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great points, Latera. So number 4, combating self-doubt. Self-doubt is going to happen. It's not very preventative. Don't be so hard on yourself. And when you have those moments of doubt, really try to pose yourself the question that you're up against, that goes up against your head. Because most of the time it's your ego talking to us and telling us what we can't do. It's good to isolate that ego voice by saying, well, why can't I? Turn to a supportive friend when you start to doubt yourself. Say all of the things to yourself that you would say to someone that you really, really believe in wholeheartedly. And so this goes back again to finding your tribe, finding, your team of people, because sometimes, not sometimes, I think especially as women, we're so hard on ourselves and we don't show ourselves enough grace. And I can't tell you, again, turning to Latera and Crystal, because I'm one of those people, type A personality, perfectionist, always trying to, strive for the best. and definitely more hard on myself than anybody else. And turning to them, they helped me kind of, like Latera said, talk me down from that ledge, and let me know that it is okay. You don't have to be perfect all the time. And perfectionism is an illusion anyway, right? It's not something that's real. It's not something that any of us can attain. There's nothing wrong with striving for excellence, but perfectionism, there's no such thing. And so sometimes having somebody to help you combat that self-doubt is needed. So again, pay attention to who's in your tribe, who's on your team, who can help you again in making sure that you're not being too harsh on yourself. And again, using that self-talk. So instead of saying that you can't do something, asking yourself, well, why can't I? And learning how to reframe those negative thoughts is really, really important. And once you learn how to reframe those thoughts and turn them into more of a positive, it will make a world of difference for you. I guarantee you. So I highly recommend, if you haven't, learned how to do that, start doing some research, self-talk, positive self-talk. Even like cognitive behavioral therapy has those pieces of positive self-talk. So those are some different things that you can research to gain more of an understanding of how to do that. And then number 5, on knowing when to leave a job. And then I added, also known as knowing your value. And so for me personally, one thing that I will share is this is my 3rd career. I typically have only stayed with an employer an average of about 2 years, because I'm very much the type of person, if I'm not happy with the type of work that I'm doing, it means I need to find something else. And so I'm glad that I've had that personality or that type of attitude, because otherwise I probably would have never made it to higher education. And this is what I've discovered for myself is where I'm meant to be. And so understanding what it is that you're bringing to the table, understanding your worth and your value is so important. And so she says, it all derives from checking in with yourself and asking yourself how you're feeling, and if you're in a situation or you're in an environment that's conducive to your mental health. We have to be our very best friends. We have got to have our own backs. Nobody wants to hear, I need to quit my job. Yeah, there's an escape plan. But at the end of the day, if you're not in an environment that is allowing you to be yourself, then yeah, you need to find a new one. You have to try to redirect what's going on, because it's not worth it. And again, as somebody that has had 3 careers, I will tell you that it's not worth it. If you're sticking in, a place in a job that is not supporting you, if it's a negative space, if they are constantly overworking you and underpaying you, it can be detrimental not only to your mental health, but your physical health too. In a lot of jobs that I've working with colleagues, I had one in particular, a friend that would always get migraine headaches. Once she left that employer, she, like 2 years went by and she hadn't had a single headache. And so a lot of times stress will manifest in physical ways. And a migraine is probably one of the most minor ways, but it can manifest in even worse ways. So you want to make sure that, when you are working and you're working a job or the environment that you're in, you want to make sure that it is something that is fulfilling you. It's something that is positive. It's something that's giving back to you, because you spend more time at work than you do at home. And so you want to make sure that you're doing something that you enjoy and that you're passionate about. And then with that, we're going to open it up to Q&A discussion questions. You guys, what questions do you have for us? What did we not hit on that you would like to know more about? And again, feel free to either unmute or type your questions in the chat. So I kind of have a rule, like every presentation I do, I need to get at least one question. So if somebody could help us out so we could go on to our the last of our 2 slides. Oh, Latera, you're muted.
I was going to say we have one, salary negotiating.
Salary negotiating.
Yeah, that's always a good one. Definitely ties into knowing your worth. Definitely something that I am constantly researching, because statistics show, I do know that women are least likely to negotiate. Men are more likely to do that than women are. So that is definitely something that I would love to hear what Dominica and Crystal have to say about salary negotiating.
Well, I will say personally, I've done that with each position that I've ever had because luckily coming from a German mother and a father who was retired Army, bluntness and speaking up for yourself is something that was ingrained in me. And so I've always was taught if you don't ask, you're not going to get it, right? And so for me, just really doing your research, first of all, finding out what the average salary is for the type of position that you are applying for. And I mean, asking for a higher salary, the worst thing they can tell you is no, and you're right where you started off at, right? And so you always want to try to negotiate. And so, for instance, if you're offered 45,000, ask for 60. If they give you 50 or 55, that's still 5 to 10,000 more than what you're originally going to be given. So you always want to attempt to negotiate your salary. And again, as women, I know we're hesitant to do that. But again, it's about knowing your value and knowing your worth and having confidence in that. And I'll say that I think when you have those things, if the employer really wants you, they're going to pay you what you're worth or what you're asking for, or at least something comparable to that. I had another question that came in saying, I'm trying to stop saying I'm sorry. Any additional hints? Again, practice. Even when I was practicing this presentation, I teared up and immediately my first thought was, oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. And so for me, even for myself in my own head, I'm still having to reframe my thinking because it's so ingrained, I think, in us to apologize. And then Latera, I know you said that you were struggling with that too. And again, there's nothing wrong with apologizing. If you do something wrong, by all means, if you mess up, take ownership and apologize. But don't apologize for, I'm sorry, but can I ask you to help me with something, or I need something, or it's like we always apologize. And again, it's something that we need to learn to do less of. Crystal and Tara.
I've started saying pardon instead of I'm sorry. So I'll say, oh, pardon my delay, this, that, or whatever, instead of saying I'm sorry. I'll say that instead.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, that was like word choice. When I started to eliminate I'm sorry from my vocabulary, that was the first step, was to be deliberate, intentionally removing those words from my vocabulary. So I stopped myself from saying those words. And then I had to choose alternative words in place of that. And so it became, pardon me, excuse me, and to put that in place. And then I took a second step to realize, what am I being sorry for? Like, reevaluate what is actually occurring. And then once I understood what was really occurring, then I really don't have anything to be sorry for. You know what I mean? The words I'm sorry is something that I think is ingrained in us from when we're very, very small. So it becomes a habit. And as we all know, it takes several days, sometimes several months and years to undo something that we've learned that's really ingrained in us. So it takes just as long to undo something that we've already learned behavior. So I would say just the first step is to try to eliminate the words from your vocabulary first. If you can do that, then that's it. And the next step is to say, I forgive myself. That was my other takeaway, was I forgive me for that. And then I just wouldn't take it any step further. So those are my 2 cents on that. It's just love yourself, forgive yourself, give yourself some grace.
We have a couple more questions. What recommendations? What recommendations do you have for imposter syndrome, which seems to burden women so much? And I'm one of those. We all, I think, struggle with that. And I'm not quite sure. I think for me, I know that maturity and confidence and age has helped me overcome a lot of that. And for me, I have to remind myself, I would have not been hired for this position. I would not have a seat at this table if somebody did not see the value that I bring and know that I am equivalent to all of those that are here with me. I'm here for a reason. I have strengths and I have superpowers, as we call them, that I bring to the table, and my superpowers are going to be different than the person sitting next to me. And just understanding what those strengths and values are, and just having confidence and owning that, and knowing that you're not an imposter, you're meant to be here.
Right. And I would also add that it's okay to admire, but you also don't want to covet, because you don't know the other person's story. You don't know what it took for them to get where they are. So you don't know the bumps, the bruises, what it took, their uphill climb. So it's okay to sometimes admire where a person is, but I think when you take the time to understand how they got to be where they were, and you hear all of what it took, then you probably wouldn't wish the same process for yourself. So admire, but don't covet, and then just be very, very, very secure in who you are as a person. And that will help prepare you forward, because someone's watching you, right? Someone wants to be you. So that's something that we all do as women's hero. She-war worship is what I like to call it, but that's okay, you know, that's okay. And that's something I learned from my mentor, was to admire but not covet.
I love that you said that, Crystal. I know right now in my doctoral program, and even in my master's program before this one, sometimes between all of my different life demands, especially now, I get to the point where I'm just like, ooh, you know, sometimes I look around, I read things from my classmates, and I'm like, am I being here? To get that feeling every once in a while, I get a little overwhelmed with what's going on. And I question it, you know, is this something I'm even supposed to be pursuing right now? Is this for me? Why am I doing this? And then, like you said, I have to remind myself of, first of all, where I've come from already. And it's like, you've already come so far. You know, sometimes you do have to reflect on what you've accomplished. You know, it just didn't happen one day. It's been a journey. And so every step you've taken up until this point has gotten you to where you are, and it's all purposeful. So all you can do is keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Got one, probably this might be the last one. Being assertive can often work against you or interpreted as insubordinate or pushy. Can you briefly discuss what assertiveness looks like to you? So this is probably a question that we need probably like 10 minutes to answer, to be honest. Especially for women of color, as Black women, a lot of times they don't see us as assertive. They see us as, again, being pushy, or that B word, or aggressive is another one. And so this is a tough one. Angry, right. Yeah. And so, again, we tend to be passionate people, and that comes out when we talk, and it comes out when we communicate. And just, I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to help other people understand the difference between being assertive and being pushy, because that's more on them and their perception of you, right? And as long as you know that you're interacting with people in a respectful manner, in a calm manner, then you've done your job. It's more about them than it is about you.
And then I would also say too that you can't really always control how people see, hear, or perceive. And so sometimes when you take caution about how your delivery is and what it is you're actually saying. So 90% of communication is listening, right? So as you're listening and you're gleaning and getting feedback on what's actually happening in the room, your communication, your tonality, your body language, how you're seeing, all of that comes into play when you are trying to make a case for yourself. So sometimes I will say, as women of color, we're considered aggressive, and it's our tone. Like, you're yelling, between yelling and being passionate, the raised voice versus a low voice. All of that is something that pretty much comes with time. It comes with age. And I know that's something that I've actually learned. I mean, believe it or not, in my younger years, I could be maybe 5 and 6 but here now, I'm more reserved. You know, I seem to listen more, and when I'm in what I think a conflicted information or situation, I tend to want to choose a tone that's going to bring the temperature down first of all. My body language is going to be such that it's more open and it's not going to be deemed offensive. And I think, or I hope it's not deemed offensive, but I'm going to try to choose my words in a way. I'm still going to be direct. I'm going to be intentional about what's going to be said. I'm going to be unapologetic about what I'm going to say. But I do understand that my delivery and what I'm wanting to get across, it matters how it is received in order for me to be able to do or enable me to be able to complete whatever needs to be done. So that all needs to be done in tandem. It just takes time, and it's something that you learn over time. It's not a perfect one-hit wonder thing. It's just something that evolves, something you get good at. And I don't think we all get really, really good at it. I think it's just a case-by-case situation, and it depends on the other party. Truthfully, it depends on who's listening. And so being pushy, I think it just comes with a state of mind, and it really has to do with your delivery. But again, you cannot control the other person. There's no way to control them.
And Carmen, I know that we're over time. We have one more question. Can we go ahead and answer?
Well, you have plenty of time. This event was till 2:30, so you can continue your.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
You have time. You
thought we just had an hour. Okay.
You have time.
Okay.
I wanted to add to what you all said, not to belabor the point, but I was sharing with Dominique and Crystal, we're taking this online diversity certificate class. And I heard someone speak last night. It was pre-recorded, but I heard something that really resonated with me. And part of some of the research I'm doing is pertaining to women of color and how we're perceived and things that other people can do and say that we cannot, because it is often perceived as being negative. And a lot of it has to do with just self-expression, and self-expression is different, right? Depending on your culture. So there was this lady who was speaking about being her authentic self in the workplace. And I've been natural now as far as not chemically altering my hair since about 2001. And I have gotten different types of reception as to if my hair was locked, right? Or as to whether or not my hair was just short. Even, questions about my professionalism, because of how my hair is and if me wearing it as it grows out of my scalp by nature, which made me feel away. And the lady was saying how she was talking about being able to go to work as her authentic self. And even for us, when it comes to things like code switching, right? In our professional voices and all those things. She said, so when you talk about being able to go to work as your authentic self, but you go and it's like, hey, it's a Halloween party, everyone's wearing costumes. But when you go as your authentic self, the surprise is, wait, no one's wearing costumes. But this was a space where we could all come and do this thing. But you get this surprise because of just people's perceptions, that things have switched up. So I think as there are more engaging conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that hopefully this is a conversation that we will have to have less, because the more honest conversation we can have and the more education we can do for each other, we shouldn't have to continue to have as many of these conversations about women not feeling, that they can be their authentic selves in these spaces.
And something that Carmen shared, little girls are often not really taught to speak up for themselves. So it's kind of placed there at a young age, and that is very true. I know I have a 7-year-old son, and I know it's not the same thing, but I even have to watch what I'm telling him because I want him to listen to me and follow instructions, but I also want him to be a free thinker. I want him to be able to make decisions on his own. And so it's so imperative that we think about what words and what phrases and what we're teaching our children, because it does become ingrained in you, just like, the I'm sorry is ingrained in us. And, what we're taught sometimes as women versus what men are taught. So there's a lot that goes along with that. We did have one more question, I believe. What if you are not satisfied with your manager's behavior to you, but you cannot speak up due to future job certainty? So I've definitely been in this situation, and I'm not one to stay quiet. And so I think it just really depends on your personal situation. And I will say, even as a single parent, I refuse to remain silent when there is injustice or people being treated unfairly. And so if you have a manager that's not treating you properly, the first thing that I would do, one, is to go to the manager and try to address it with them. If they are not open or receptive to the information that you are sharing in regards to how you feel and how they are treating you, then the next step would be to hold a meeting with their supervisor, and relay this information and try to talk that through. If that doesn't work, or if that second level supervisor is not open to communicating or meeting with you, then the next step is to go to your human resources department. Each human resources department should have some type of either mediation process or complaint process that they should be able to work through with you. But with that said, always remember that human resources is there to protect the company. They are not there to protect the employees per se. So just keep that in mind, that they can play that space of a mediator and help resolve issues, but at the end of the day, their job is to protect the employer. Latera, Crystal, what do you have to add to that?
I was going to recommend a book that I read once called It's Okay to Manage Your Boss. And basically, it's a book that really gets you to look at the relationship between you and your boss, whether you have a easygoing relationship or a difficult relationship. Sometimes if you cannot get to the point where the person with that person that's supervising you, where it's about free flowing communication, maybe you have to find a different playing field to leverage. So maybe your playing field to leverage is, hey, I am confused about, some of the things I'm supposed to be getting to. So you want clarification about the overall goals, your role, what's going on, so that you can support them in helping your area to be more successful. Help me, help you, so I can help us as a team. So sometimes it's how you say things. And the book I put in the chat is called It's Okay to Manage Your Boss. So sometimes, yes, I will. You just have to find a way to say it. It's sometimes you have to pick how you can approach a person about certain things.
The only thing that I can add to that is to be realistic about the expectations of that whole situation too. I mean, we all hope that we could have the perfect situation where you are able to have the boss that is the super mentor, the super encourager, the super supporter, the one that you feel that you can share anything with, that will keep it in the safe and all of that, who will give you grace and when you're running late and all that. But, the reality is that is not the case. That might not be that situation. You might have a boss that's just wired totally differently, that sees the world through a whole different lens, who just doesn't have time for that, quite honestly. And so if that is the reality and you realize that that is the case and you've tried everything that you can, then understanding what that reality is. I think everyone at Dallas College knows my famous words is, you can alter your reality, and you can do what you need to do to alter your reality, and you can always do a change of scenery. It doesn't mean that you have to stay and continue to be miserable. which pretty much leads us to the next question that says, what do you feel, I lost it, what do you recommend to deal with feelings of guilt and ungratefulness for wanting more or something different? I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting anything different. And if you want something more, that just means you're trying to grow. I mean, I think that just means that you want better. And everybody wants to improve their situation. And you should not, you know, be dinging yourself for that. You know, that's just a natural thing. And so if someone is, you know, pouring water on your parade for wanting to do more, be better, be greater, be ambitious, I mean, then they might not be the person that you need to be in relationship with. As I mentioned, that's just maybe not the relationship that you need to support you to move you to the next space. Relationships, you know, since we're talking about all this, some relationships are for a lifetime and some for a season. Some people are just there to be at an intersection, therefore to get what you need to help empower you to move on to the next step in your growth pattern. So it's okay to want more. It's okay with being better and improving more and wanting something different, you know. So if that is what you want, I say go for that. We empower you to do that. And you need to find a group or someone else to help push you and help take you to the next level is my suggestion.
And another comment that was posted is that women of color can be allies and greatly help us. And so in a previous presentation I did, I actually gave a shout out to 4 women, and actually Carmen was one of those 4, but she was the only, Carmen was like, I missed it. The other women that have helped me advance in my career since I have been with Dallas College have all been white women. And so, you know, if you are a non-woman of color, we need your help too. Like we want to have a seat at the table. We want to, as Crystal and Tara said, we want to know that our names are being said, even when we're not in the room, of course, in positive ways. And so we need allies, and not just from other women, but from men as well. And so, you know, we want to make sure that we're supporting each other, but also understand the importance, you know, of a role that you might play. If you are a white woman, you have a little more pull a lot of times, and maybe, I don't know what else, maybe power than some of us has. And so, you know, for me, I've always had the perspective of, you know, as a leader, I can't move on to the next level until I've trained my replacement. For me, I'm always looking at ways to help promote other women because I'm very big in karma, and that's not the only reason why I do it. But I truly believe that what you put out is what you get back, right? And so I do things that I would want others to do for me as well. And so if I'm in a meeting and I know that I have a colleague that can really support or help that initiative, I make sure to put that out there, and then I go back and let my colleague know too. And so it's just really important for us to continuously uplift each other, support each other. You know, one of the things I told you that Latera and Crystal both had their Empowered Women Empower Women shirt on. And I believe that wholeheartedly. Like, an empowered woman is able to empower other women and help other women feel empowered. So I feel like that's all of our responsibilities to do that. Anything else to add, Latera, Crystal?
Other than leverage the possibilities, you know me, I think that iron sharpens iron. That's my other favorite cliche. I say it probably twice a day, and you all know that. But that's something that I honestly believe. And so I say that as we walk this walk in sisterhood, no matter who's to our left, who's to our right, it doesn't matter the rainbow. It doesn't matter. Support has no barriers. Support has no barriers. So if you feel empowered or you need power, then you're able to borrow from your sisterhood, and you need to walk forward and go with God's blessing. I say, go with the blessings and walk the path that has only been laid out, because you alone can tell the story that you have. No one else can live the life that you have. No one else can do the assignment that you've been given to do. So we empower you to be an awesome woman of excellence, and all of that carries with.
I would just say surround yourself with people who see the best in you, and surround yourself with people who are able to see what you are capable of doing, even when you forget what you are capable of doing. Sometimes we all get down, right? Tired, frustrated, just plain exhausted, because most of us as women have 12 million other responsibilities, not just work, because often we are also caregivers. And so sometimes you're just like, hey, man, I don't know how I'm going to get all of this done. And whoever is in your immediate circle, whoever you spend time with, you want to make sure that those are people, I know, right? That connects with me more than you ever know. You want to connect yourself with people who are going to see the strength that you have, and people who can tell you, you know, I've seen you do it a million times before. You're capable, it's in you, you can do it. And those people that are going to encourage you to push yourself, to be better, to be greater, and to just do those things that you would have that you are capable of doing. You should not be the smartest person in your collective or your network. You need to surround yourself with people who are going to push you. And that will make sure that you're constantly growing.
And one last thing, Carmen mentioned positive affirmations, which I started practicing probably about 2 years ago. I actually focus on chakra alignment, and I use positive affirmations for each of the 7 chakras. And it has totally changed my life. It's changed who I am as a person. I feel more positive. I don't feel like I got to a space where I was feeling negative and kind of dragged down. And I've always been somebody that's been considered positive. And so me turning to that has made a world of difference for me personally. Positive affirmations, meditation, chakra alignment, whatever it is that helps you find those things, and making sure, again, the heart shirt, self-care, self-love every single day. You are worthy of it. You need it. And it will benefit you and make you a better person. And you can't pour into other people's cup, as Crystal was saying. You can't pour into other people's cup. You want your cup to be overflowing into the saucer, and you want to pour from the saucer into other people, right? You can't do that without providing yourself with self-love and self-care. So that's very, very important to do that. And I don't think we have any other questions.
Well, if not, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but this has made my heart warm and full. And I was so excited to have like Latera and Kiana. Oh, not Kiana, sorry. I was thinking of Kiana, like whenever we were talking about like women's empowerment, I was like, oh my God, I love Kiana. And that was the name that popped in my head. But anyway, if you don't know Kiana Bradley, I just saying I do love her. But I also love Latera and Dominica and Miss Crystal for doing this presentation. This was something I was so excited for. Because as women, you know, especially in our work lives, like we do sometimes just of outside, we're not even talking about our personal lives, like just work. You know, sometimes we do take on so much. It's like we come into work with a backpack on, you know what I mean? And the backpack is 50 pounds, and we have to walk around with that and still try to serve people and still try to be our authentic selves and still try to, you know, negotiate that salary or negotiate that promotion and stuff like that. So, you know, I was like, we need an event like this for our students and staff and faculty, because we need some uplifting, because we just go through so much, especially when we think about our careers. So I don't know if y'all can see the reaction emojis at the bottom, but if y'all can give these 3 lovely, fabulous, smart, intelligent women hand clap, please, for them. That would be great because they did such an awesome job. I also just want to say, please let us know how you feel about this event. I just dropped a link in the chat box. That is where you can fill out our survey for today to let us know just how you felt about this event. Also, what you would like to see coming up. If you want more of these events, let us know. If you don't want another one of these events, you can let us know that too. But I did just want to thank everyone so much for coming and celebrating Women's History Month with us, but also specifically attending this event so you can learn more about how to be assertive and how we can uplift our fellow women in our career spaces. For those of y'all who are also free tomorrow, we will be having our final Women's History Month event with our guest speaker, former CEO of Black Entertainment Television, Deborah Lee. And she'll be speaking on some of the barriers that women, that she endured on her way to her success. And she will also just give us more tips and tricks on how we can navigate this thing as a woman. So please join us tomorrow at 4 p.m. It'll also be on WebEx. You can just click on the link on Dallas College website, so be sure to go there. And I hope that everyone has a fantastic day and afternoon, and we hope to see y'all tomorrow. Thank you so much. Bye.